You know, it's so fresh to hear somebody say that that's been in the business for so long for many
It
reasons.
is.
Like, one, most people are terrified about robots like removing their jobs, et cetera, et cetera. But like Nicholas said, the advantages when you want to still keep the organic part that is run by humans. And like you said, Hans, in 20 years from now, an instrument, a real instrument, will always be a real instrument. I don't want to see these freaking instruments that don't got real strings on it and that all of a sudden, they play by themselves, or we got too many frills and whistles in it that take you away from that beautiful organic piece of wood with frets and strings that respond to vibration when you hit them, et cetera, et cetera. And it is so cool to listen to the future giving you this kind of energy, because that's the magic. You can't see the end because there is no end. It just continues going from the initial dream and what needs to happen. Fuck vacations, fuck all this buying all these houses and shit. What the important part is to keep the dream going, because that's the fun, that's the legacy. And I can't believe that I'm watching a father and a son that are so happy to be together, when most sons are going to say, nah, that's my father over there. Nicholas, it's so good to see somebody who, I'm so impressed that you went through the whole stage, working in the warehouse, figuring out some wood stuff, the business, the technology, all that shit. Oh my God, at that age, to be able to have that, you are a true prototype that needs to be like replicated. You know what I mean? Like Hans
Yes.
said, honestly speaking, Mark and I, we talk about this all the time, right? Kids that were born with a cell phone in their hand, the problem with that is they don't even know how to pick up a screwdriver.
I mean, the fault that nobody wants to take a screwdriver into their hands anymore isn't only about cell phones. It has also a lot to do about the politics, especially here in Germany. Everybody is being told you need to go to the university, you need to study. Especially it's free in Germany, you don't pay for anything. But this is the wrong development, because in the past you still had many people who went after the school into education for skill. They were doing a carpenter, a plumber, they were doing these kind of jobs instead of going to the university. But in my time, like kids of my age or also after, they all went to the university. So you had a shortage of all these handymans and craft jobs. But the people who now or back then didn't go to university and did the education as a plumber, they do now much more money than the guys who went to the university, because since you have such a shortage, everybody is paying top dollars that you get a plumber or a carpenter in a big city. Like, if you live in a bigger city like Munich or Leipzig, sometimes you need to wait weeks or months until you get a plumber into your house, because there isn't enough.
You're right, man. There is no plumbers. There's no electricians. What happens if you live in an old home that's been there for 100 years? It's a certain kind of wiring that they don't have anymore. Who the hell knows how to fix that shit but the old guys? I think that is one of the biggest underlying problems that people don't really talk about, is the fact that so many people are going to be retiring, the ones who know how to work the machines, the CNC, the true hand makers and creators. And what are we going to be left with? A bunch of confused people who don't feel like working because they were born on a cell phone, with all the deepest respect.
I'd like to interrupt you there. Even if you're born with a cell phone,
Yeah.
it's not the fault from the kid. It's all the time the fault from the families, from the mother, from the father, who educated their kids wrongly. And then, of course, in a general situation like our societies are, it's in America, probably I'm sure it's in Canada not different, like in Europe, all the time you get taught from the politics, you have to study, you have to study, you have to study. Nonsense.
Yeah.
70% of the people who studies are not qualified to studies. They are incapable to do a good job. And this didn't change. And they don't think it's make fun working by hand. They think it doesn't make fun to work as an electrician or a plumber or whatever, but it's make fun because you can move things. But the people were wrongly educated. My wife was all the time saying, "Oh, they have to study. They have to study." Well, my daughter studied, but by her own wish. We didn't say no that she didn't like that she likes to study, but I said all the time to Nicola, you don't have to study. For what? For what? Learn things and do it in the right way. And it's all the time the fault of the families, of the mother and the father, which are not right educating the kids from the scratch on, making it easy. So if you give to your kids the handy, why they shouldn't use it? Because we don't know anything else. It's easy. Give your kid a handy and it's quiet and you can do what you want.